Hi, everyone. My name is Lauren. I'm the missions coordinator here at Samaritan's Feet. I'm so excited that you guys decided to join our webinar today. We're going to go ahead and we're going to be discussing mission trips here at Samaritan's Feet. We're going to go through specific trips on the last half of it. In the first half, we're going to talk about what you can expect from a mission trip. And just more details like that. So I'm really excited you guys are all here. Just another heads up, this is being recorded. So afterwards, I'm going to go ahead and send this out to you guys afterwards. So before we get started, I would love it if one of our ministry partners, JP, would you be so kind as to pray us into this meeting?
Surely. Father, we give glory to you. We give thanks to you that you are able to bring all of us here together to discuss ways and understand how Samaritan Feet is engaged in serving your people around the world. Thank you, Father, for Lauren, for Darcy, for Maria, for all who are part of this meeting and all the participants who are interested in traveling around the world to serve you, Lord. We pray already for these communities that will be served throughout this year and 2026. We also pray that your spirit is with us during these meetings, that all the questions and what is shared will sink in our mind. And if we have any questions, just to clarify, that you give us words to share with those who are interested to join in and serve with us during this coming year. Be with us, Lord, this day. We just give thanks to you for Lauren for putting this together and bringing us all together this time. We pray all the glory to you and we trust that you are with us. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Amen. Wonderful.
Amen. Amen.
Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to introduce some of the people on the call so that you guys get an idea of who is here and what their role is here with Samaritan's Feet. So like I said, starting off, my name is Lauren Forrest. I'm the missions coordinator here as of July of 2024. I feel really honored to have been offered this role. And in this role, I am in charge of planning and executing all the trips here at Samaritan's Feet. So generally speaking, I'll be your go-to contact when you're trying to sign up for these trips. Next on the call is we have Darcy Grimes. She's our Chief Experience and Marketing Officer. She's also my boss. And I'm very fortunate to work under her. Darcy, did you want to say anything?
Just welcome and thank you all so much for joining us this evening. We're so excited to share our mission and how you can help support it.
Okay, great. Next we have JP with By Grace Alone Ministries. He is our ministry partner for DR, the Dominican Republic. He's the man who just prayed for us. JP, did you want to say anything before we get started?
Oh, Lauren, I'm excited. I'm excited to meet everyone and really looking forward to what this year has in store for us.
Awesome, me too. And last but certainly not least is we have Maria with Glow Ministries. And if I'm remembering correctly, Maria, that stands for Go Love Our World. And she is our on-the-ground ministry partner for Honduras. Is there anything you wanted to say, Maria?
Yeah, just super excited and very thankful for this opportunity to be able to share with you guys about Glow and also to hear other people's hearts for serving. It's always great to see people wanting to come together to be a part of the kingdom. So super excited. Thank you.
Thank you, Maria. And I just wanted to let you guys all know there should be a button at the bottom of this webinar. It says Q&A. Please feel free to ask questions throughout this. We will get that here on the side as the ones hosting, and we'll be able to answer those either throughout or at the end. So if you have specific questions, please feel free to answer them. I'm looking forward to making sure you guys get a lot of clarity on all the trips here at Samaritan's Feet. So. All right, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Okay, can everyone see it?
We can see it. You may want to put it in, in the presentation mode.
Okay, sorry about that. All right, are we in presentation mode now?
We are.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and move forward, and I'm going to pass it over to Darcy. Darcy, if you want to go ahead and maybe explain a little bit of the history here at Samaritan's Feet.
Sure. So Samaritan's Feet is a 501c3 nonprofit humanitarian aid organization. And we believe that we deliver hope through the service of shoes. So it's all about the shoe distribution and bringing us to people who are in need and being able to meet them in the moment where they are. A little bit of our history. One of the things that I love about Samaritan's Feet is the integrity of our story and how it all started. Our founder and his wife, Manny and Tracy Ohome, Manny's story is so authentic and really shows how a pair of shoes can change your life. Before coming to Samaritan's Feet, I thought I'd heard the stories about Cinderella, right? And Cinderella, a pair of shoes changed her life, but otherwise, I hadn't really thought much about how a pair of shoes can impact someone. But as it turns out, Manny grew up in Nigeria, and he was a young man at the age of 9 helping his mother sell water at a local park to make extra money for their family. And as luck would have it, there was a missionary there that day teaching African children American sports. And again, as God or luck would guide the basketball, it rolled over towards Manny, and he picked it up and actually joined in the the play with the other kids. And so this missionary was actually going to have them shoot some baskets. And I love to hear Manny tell this story because he really believes that God took over that day. It was the first time he'd ever seen a basketball, held a basketball. And when he shot that ball, it went in the net. And Manny, at the age of 9, won his first pair of shoes. The first pair of shoes, not only for himself, but the first pair in his family and the first person in his village to ever own a pair of shoes. And, that just seems so amazing to us, of course, here in America, that somebody could live to the age of 9 and never have a pair of shoes. And so as life progressed, Manny continued his love of basketball and actually went on to earn a scholarship to the University of North Dakota Lake Region. And that is where he came and studied and met his wife, fell in love, and they got married. Manny always had a heart for giving back, especially rooted with his story of receiving that pair of shoes at the age of 9. But life happens, and so they had children, and he went to work in the tech sector. And then years later, they went back to Nigeria when his father passed away. And he looked around and saw the poverty that he had grown up with. And he saw that same park where he first got his pair of shoes. Children were still playing barefoot. And that was really the seed that was planted. And when they came back, they started Samaritan's Feet because they realized that a pair of shoes can change a life. And so they started Samaritan's Feet in 2003 out of their garage at their home here in Charlotte, North Carolina. And here we are 21 years later, and we've now served over 11 million individuals shoes. So when you think about the fact that it took us about 20 years to serve 10 million, and last year we served just under 1 million, and our goal for this year is to serve 1.2 million. So when you think about the fact that there are 600 million people worldwide without shoes, without one pair of shoes, the need is very great. And so a lot of what we do, actually all of what we do, is trying to fill that gap, right? And bring shoes to people who don't have them, or who maybe have never had their own first pair. Maybe here in the US, we see a lot of children who are dealing with hand-me-down shoes and have never had their own pair of shoes. And so it's so lovely to be able to sit across from kids, adults, seniors, whomever we're serving, and be able to use the shoes to really just connect on a human level with those that are our recipients. So that is really the history of Samaritan's Feet and how we got started. Today we're in over 112 countries and over 625 US cities where we've actually distributed shoes.
Thank you, Darcy. I always love it when you share it. You have a way with words with that. So I appreciate that. Thank you. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to share a video from our founder, Manny. So yeah, let me go ahead and get that started.
Hi, I'm Manny Ahomey, founder and CEO of Samaritan's Feet. It's amazing that you're choosing to take this journey with us, a missions journey, where we can actually be the hands and feet of Jesus Christ, to go and impact the world with the gift of shoes. We get the chance to humble ourselves. We get the chance to get eyeball to eyeball, decision of humility. We could just speak into the hearts and the souls of the young, the adult, and also seniors. And it's amazing that we get to do that as an experience that's going to transform our life. Man, 20 something years ago, I remember going to South Africa, and my mind was blown. When we thought we were going to go serve 1,000 people, 4,000 showed up. Guess what? Also, God showed up in a very powerful way. So I can't wait for you to help be a part of this journey. Because being a part of this cross-cultural experience changes you more than it changes them. You come back being even deeper, committed servant that wants to go impact the world for our kingdom. So join us today as you think about being a part of the missions pursuit. Help get other friends to join you. Be able to actually speak into your journey and infuse hope and infuse support into your process so you can go serve and come back and help us make this world a better place. I tell you, there's no better experience you can have until you jump on that plane, travel all the way there, somewhere in the United States, get out of your comfort zone, go show hope and love. Great better experience. So I hope you join us today. Help us give a shit to help us. Hi, I'm Manny Ahomey, founder and CEO.
Okay, so I just wanted to share a little bit before we start talking about specific trips, just a little bit about the visions of our missions department here at Samaritan's Feet. Um, so I love what Manny was saying is that, they came to serve 1,000 people and then 4,000 showed up. I think anyone who's volunteered or worked in ministry has probably seen a very similar circumstance happen. And that might be why I love missions work so much. I always call it the chaos of ministry or the chaos of missions. It reminds me of the stories in the Bible where Jesus came to feed, or Jesus fed the thousands of people with only, a few morsels of food. And so for me personally, I have always felt a calling to missions, which is why I feel so grateful to be able to have this position here at Samaritan's Feet. But of course, when we're looking at missions, we're looking at scripture and what that looks like. And so if you read here, like, for example, in Acts 13:47, it says, "For this is what the Lord has commanded us. I have made you a light for the Gentiles that you may bring salvation to the ends of the earth." And what's amazing is that an amazing way to do this is being able to go through a ministry like Samaritan's Feast and use a tool like shoes. It's crazy when you could think about Manny, who started this nonprofit many years ago. And it all started with a ministry tool, which was shoes. And that's the best way I found in my experience with missions to share the gospel is to show them love or to use tools like that. And they're much more receptive to God Himself once they have that. It reminds me of one of my first mission trips to the Philippines about 11 years ago, and I might share more about that later. But we had a woman, her name was Nanay Raquel. Nanay is what they call their elders there. And we gifted her a cane because she hadn't been able to leave her house for a long time because she couldn't afford a cane. So the ministry got together and we pulled our funds together and bought her one. And in that moment, I remember her tears coming out of her eyes. And I'll never forget this. And she said, I understand how much God loves me because he told you to give this to me. This is not something she asked for ever. It was just something we felt called to give her. We made sure to stress that this isn't from us, but this is from God. And it seemed like after we had spent weeks doing Bible studies with her, and it was like having a hard time clicking with her, this idea of love of God. But then once we were able to use a ministry tool like that, it like clicked in her mind. And then every Bible study after that, she was much more interactive and much more understanding and much more curious about God and the gospel. So, that's why having the ability to bring shoes like that, it's such a not just a need in these communities because it is a need. There's foodborne tropical diseases and illnesses that we're hoping to help eradicate by giving out shoes in large quantities to these communities, but it's also what it represents. It represents us being used as a vessel by Christ so that we can have the honor of doing this work. So I just wanted to share a little bit about when I think about the missions department and I'm planning these trips, I always have that in the back of my mind that I'm so grateful that we have this ministry tool so that we can be that light of Christ. So okay, so now with that in mind, I'm hoping that all of you, if you haven't been on a trip, that you're looking into going on one, and that's why you're here tonight. And what can you expect if you go on a trip with us at Samaritan's Feet? First thing is you can expect a dedicated staff. That includes me, and the team leader, Darcy. We are someone that you can message, and I will say that I'm pretty responsive. I usually message within 24 hours, unless it's a weekend. I might wait till Monday, but for the most part, you might even get it back within an hour in a response. So that means that if you have a question, you can expect very quick results either from me or the team leader, and you'll have multiple points of contact too, so you don't have to rely on just one person. And as well as our ministry partners, I introduced two earlier. We have amazing ministry partners that work so hard to make sure that the experience on the ground is well thought out and taken care of, and that safety is kept in mind. You will also, what you can also expect is that with finances is that we will help manage that and help track that. We'll keep track of donations that you get brought in as well. And the price, the base fare that we include for each trip, that is all inclusive for on the ground expenses. That includes your ground transportation, your lodging, your food, your excursions, the shoes, your travel insurance, any team t-shirts. And then so airfare is not included, but all on the ground costs will be included in that base cost so that all you have to do is pay and show up. You shouldn't have to think when you come on these trips, oh no, what am I going to eat in the next hour? We make sure all of that is taken care of for you. Another thing that you can expect is that we will have 3 pre-trip team meetings and trainings with your team lead. So as we start to get closer between 2 to 6 weeks before your trip, you'll have 3 meetings planned before then where you guys will talk through all the details. You'll get your finalized itinerary. You'll talk through rooming assignments. You'll talk through devotion schedules. So that will help prepare you for on the ground. And in many cases, we can also have a ministry partner on that call too to answer more personal questions, such as like, what does the culture look like there? Maybe they can teach you some small language tidbits that you can take with you if you're not familiar with the language or if they don't speak English. So we do make sure we try and provide thorough prep for the trip, not just with information, but we get to meet together. You get to meet the teammates you're going to be going with. You get to really get time to bond with your team leader, and get to hopefully know some basics about the culture that you're entering into, so that you're ready and fully prepared when you enter the field. Other things you can expect is just a spiritually enriching experience. Obviously, this is a mission trip. And so Christ is a huge anchor in what we do with these mission trips, as always. And so besides having an amazing ministry partner that's grounded in Christ, you can also expect that we'll do team devotions every day. We encourage our team members to participate if they're willing. And if not, we always have amazing team leaders that can jump in when needed. And it's an experience that will bring you closer to God. I've been on quite a few mission trips at this point. My first one, though, was when I was 18. It was gifted to me as a graduation present from my parents. While all my friends were getting parties, I really wanted to go to Africa on a mission trip. And so I had the privilege of going to Uganda, and it really changed my life. If I'm being honest, I don't know how many lives or if I changed any on that trip, but I can say that God transformed me on that trip. And it's greatly a huge part of to where I am today and how I completed my education and how I live the rest of my life now. And so you can also expect a minimum of 3 to 4 distributions per trip. Some trips, there's more than that. It's really dependent on the trip, but I will say you'll do a minimum of at least 3 to 4. And so will be a huge part of washing feet and seeing the look on people's faces when you get to deliver that ministry tool to them. And hopefully, if they're comfortable with it, depending on the culture, you'll get to pray with them or talk with them afterwards as well. So this is just the baseline of what you can expect when you do go on a trip with Samaritan's Feet. Now, another expectation is that you will have a safe experience. We try as much as possible to make sure that we are vetting on the ground and that we make sure that we put as much mitigation efforts in place so that it is a well-rounded but safe experience as our number one priority on any trip. And so the very first part of that is site verification with local partners. And what does that mean? What that basically means is that at some point, someone from Samaritan's Feet has been on the ground and has verified the locations that we're going to, or we have a very trusted Samaritan's Feet affiliate who has been able to do that for us. And so we're not just flying into a country and booking things on booking.com and hoping that it goes well. We have people on the ground who are actually verifying, looking at the lodging places, they're speaking with contacts, and they're going and visiting schools to see where we can do distributions. I think that is the most important part of the safety factor because we're not just going in blind, we're going in well prepared and with a plan. So that's the first safety measure and the most important in my opinion. Another aspect of that is the team knowledge and information. So the first thing is that we try to train our team leads very well here. We have a training guide. Currently, it's being updated, but we still have another one right now. We also have team leader trainings 1 to 2 times a year, if possible. And we, with that, team leaders are also given a information packet to bring with them on every trip, and that includes everybody's allergies, that includes their emergency contacts, information for local embassies. If we use the travel agent, we have the travel agency information as well. And with that, they're also the ones that do the 3 team meetings with you ahead of time. And so they've already gotten to know you and address your concerns if you have any. So we have a very thorough team training beforehand to make sure that when you go on a Samaritan's Feet trip, the leader that's going with you is well prepared. And every team leader that we currently have on our roster as well has been on multiple trips with us many times over the years. So they're not inexperienced. They definitely have experience with international travel in multiple different destinations. Another part of that is STEP registration. You might have heard of it. It's through the State Department. It stands for the Smart Traveler Enrollment Program. It's a free service offered by the State Department, but it's just an extra layer. An example of this is I went to Cuba in October and I had our whole team registered for this. And as we were actually leaving on the ground in Cuba, we got an alert that there was a blackout in Cuba. And that the whole country was having an emergency blackout situation. Now, we were lucky because we were flying out at that point, but that's something that STEP would keep us informed about, is that if there's any emergency information on the ground, they would let us know. And also, if there's ever a true emergency where your life could possibly be in danger, that information is given to the State Department so that they can work on possibly getting an emergency evacuation out or working with you for that as well. So that's the STEP program. The next step on that is that we do purchase travel insurance for every volunteer that goes on a trip with us without exception. It is good for the full length of the trip, and it covers things such as emergency accidents, sickness, medical expenses, emergency medical evacuations, reparations, if God forbid the worst happens and you pass while away, this helps to cover your remains to come back. I believe it also has the words are escaping me. It has funds allocated to if you have lost luggage for a certain amount of days as well. And so that's something that you can expect that a lot of people like to double up and buy their own insurance as well, which you're perfectly welcome to. Regardless of if you buy it or not, we're still going to purchase that on our end. It's just a safety factor to make sure that, God forbid, something ever happens medically or otherwise, that we can get you guys home in a quick and safe, efficient manner. I already discussed the team leader training. And another thing is with vaccines. And the only reason why I bring this up is because we get questions about this a lot. We do not administer vaccines. What we do recommend is that you go by the CDC recommendations on their website. They have travel advisories for all vaccinations. Almost all of them are not required. The one that is required oftentimes, though, is yellow fever, and that's often for parts of Africa, I think for some parts of South America as well, in Asia. But yellow fever is the only vaccine I can think of where it's required oftentimes. But other than that, we will always advise that you go to the CDC recommendations. We are not health professionals. That is not our forte, so we lean on those that are. Okay, great. So now, before I get started on the good stuff, this is where we're going to go through trip by trip, and talk about the specifics that you can expect for every area. Does any of our co-hosts or panelists have anything to say before we move forward? Nope. Okay.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. No? Okay. I thought I heard something, but that's okay. I'm going to go ahead and move forward. So I'm going to go in order by date order of our trips and what trips that are still available and open and on our website right now. A lot of this information you can find on our website. I will be answering questions about these trips, so I would jot down if you have any or put them in the Q&A chat. And at the end, we're going to go ahead and try and answer all of those questions about specific trips. So Uganda. This is a favorite trip that we have people going on. We usually do multiple Uganda trips a year, for historically. And so this year we have 2 Uganda trips. We have one in April and one in September. The April team has already purchased their flights and have all paid up for their trip. But if you wanted to get added onto that, you most certainly still can. If not, you can definitely get on the September trip. Those are very identical trips, but you can expect different distribution sites. So you'll still do distributions, just different sites. And you can also expect different excursions on those trips. So for the April trip, they'll be doing a Jeep safari tour where you'll get to see lions and elephants and other animals that are exciting. Whereas the September trip, you're going to be able to do a tour of Sippy Falls, of a coffee farm, and you'll get to float down the Nile River. So it's more of a hands-on experience versus the Jeep tour. And so that one is priced at $2,800 plus airfare. And you can be as young as 13 to go on that trip. If you are 16 or younger, you do have to come with an adult or a guardian. And so the person who is leading that is Whitney Saucedo. If you are familiar with our mission trips, you've probably heard her name. She is one of the former missions coordinators. She has now been promoted because of her excellent work. But she also has a special love for Uganda specifically. And so she is very heavy-handed in planning those trips. And she will also be the one who leads those trips moving forward, most likely. Okay, South Africa. So South Africa is May 2nd to May 10th. That is $2,600 plus airfare. This one, the age requirement is a little lower, 10 years old, which is great because if you want to come with a family member that's a little younger, this would probably be a really good trip. They're going to do a tour off the west coast of Africa, kind of going down the west coast, doing distributions there. And this is going to be planned by our ministry partner, Hermine. She's our South Africa affiliate office in South Africa, which means that she runs South Africa Samaritan's Feet branch. And so having personally met her, she is incredibly organized and well detailed. And we were looking at some photos when she was here a few months ago in North Carolina, and so was I. And she had showed me the location on the coast where the accommodations would be, and it was beautiful. And so I highly recommend if this is something that you're interested in to sign up because registration will close probably beginning of May. So let us know if you're interested in this. We would love to have more people coming on this trip specifically. Oh, and the excursion for this one, it's going to be a tour of the Table Mountain or in the waterfront city, and you'll be able to explore Cape Town as well. Okay, Greece. I am, before I say anything else, going to preface this that this trip is almost completely full. We only have one more spot available on this trip. So I'm personally leading this trip, and that's in large part because I have a huge heart for Middle Eastern ministry. And we will be serving Middle Eastern refugees in Greece. You'll get a lot. I'm not sure if anyone's familiar with the kind of political climate in Greece. They are bring in a lot of refugees from that area. You'll get a lot from Egypt, from Iran, from Afghanistan, from Iraq. And so Syria right now, there's a lot going on in Syria and a lot of people are fleeing. I'm intimately in those details because I used to work in the Middle East and North Africa. And so I'm personally really excited about this trip and being able to go. This one is, you can be as young as 9, which is our personal age limit here at Samaritan's Feet. We don't allow anyone under the age of 9 to go on trips with us. And this ministry partner was okay with younger generation, which I'm actually going to be bringing my daughter, who's 9 years old, as well on this trip. We've started fundraising for it already. And so we're going to be working with Parissa with Father's Heart. And we've done this trip in the past and it's been very successful. And so the excursion for this is that we'll be able to take some time to explore Athens and tour the Acropolis and shop at the Plaka. And so I'm really excited about this. The people who've gone on this in the past have given great reviews. So if you want to snag that last spot, there's only one left. So this one is going to be in the summer, June 5th to 15th. Okay, Belize. JP, just a heads up, you're after Belize. So, Belize, this one is going to be July 4th to July 11th of this year. It's going to be $2,500 plus airfare. You can be as young as 12 years old to go on this trip. And we work with a ministry partner, Derek Pitts, from God Cares Outreach. He is an amazing ministry partner. He's very responsive. He's very well detailed, and he always makes sure that people who come to Belize have a great experience. People tend to come back and do this trip more than once because of that. And so this is a really great opportunity. If you haven't been on a mission trip, I would say that this would be a really great one to get your feet wet with personally. The team leader for this is Mandy Rogers. And we already have a few people signed up for this. We're looking to get at least 2 more people signed up. So, and this one, the excursion will be snorkeling in the Great Barrier Reef, which is such an amazing experience. I feel like I learned about the Great Barrier Reef in school and my marine biology class in high school and more in college. And so being able to experience that yourself, that's just like a great added bonus. We also recently got sent a large shipment of shoes to Belize. And so they do have a large amount of shoes waiting for us to come and help them distribute in the community because the need is just so great. Okay. JP, I'm going to pass this over to you. I'm just going to read the dates and the price, and then I would love for you to talk more about this since you're our ministry partner on the ground and who's a huge part of helping to plan this. But the dates for this are July 11th to July 19th. It is $2,600 plus airfare. And this one also has a younger age requirement. Me and JP had discussed it, and he expressed, similar to me, his love of having families in the younger generation coming to serve with us. So we made that one a little bit lower. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to let you talk about it, JP.
Fantastic. Well,
Listen.
we're excited that many people can sign for this team, for their team to come to Dominican Republic. Can you hear me?
By grace alone.
Yes.
I'm sorry, Maria, did you have a question?
I'm sorry. I forgot to mute it. I apologize.
Oh, no problem. No problem. Okay. Go ahead, JP.
Yes. I am JP Sangai, and we have a ministry here in Dominican Republic called By Grace Alone Ministry. It's been an honor and privilege for us to be in partnership with Samaritan Feet for the last 10 years, receiving teams, sometimes 3 or 4 times a year. And just really, the biggest thing to know is that the communities that we'll be serving are truly in need. Everything that you've heard through the presentation of the experience that Manny has had as a child and the experience that Darcy had mentioned, that we provide hope in the lives of people by giving them shoes and sharing them the opportunity that they can go to school. The majority of the kids, when they come to us, it's because their families are hoping that they'll get a pair of shoes that will allow them to go to school. And many of them, even if they don't get a chance to go to school, just to really have a nice pair of shoes to walk with in their community and hang around. So they joy to see kids, whether they have sliders, whether they have Crocs, whether they have any of the shoes that we've had in the past or even currently. It's just exciting to know that we're really changing lives. So come to Dominican Republic. We'll have an opportunity to walk the old city where the Spanish settled, where Christopher Columbus settled. We will do a tour that probably will take about 2 hours just to see the first place where Columbus and his people walked to the New World. And you actually get to experience those steps and go around the Columbus Park and then also the Independence Park. One of the things to remember and realize is that the Independence Park is actually considered the place where Dominicans see themselves as a real, true, and a real republic, because even though they were already independent after the Spanish came, but they consider the independence from the war between Haiti and Dominican Republic as their true independence. So we'll be able to go there and see all of the people that were significant in organizing that independence, who are buried there, and they have eternal fire going on. And we'll also be able to go around the city, see some of the places. We have a cave that we'll be able to visit, where the Indians used to live there, and actually go in the lakes that they have in that cave, where they would go and bathe and fish. And today it's a place where many people go. It is underground, so you'll have to go about 500 feet under the ground and look at the three types of lakes that they have there. That lake is in Los Tres Ojos, in East Santo Domingo, and not far from the old city. There are several other places that we'll be able to go and look at the monument of the sugar cane. Sugar cane is very important in the life of Dominican Republic since colonial time, because of the cultivation of it by the Spanish, as well as local people, Dominican, Indian, as well as people from Haiti, that were able to come to Dominican Republic and work on the sugarcane farms. And some other things that we'll be able to see. If you know the history of Dominican Republic, there is a monument that's built in honor of three sisters who the former dictator called Trujillo had wanted them to be his concubines. But for the first time, three people were able to tell the president no. And so it was really amazing that these three ladies were able to tell him no, and he had them killed. And so the country recognizes them, and there is a monument for them, and many streets throughout the whole country are named after the three sisters, Hermana Mirabal. Many of you may have seen a movie or read the book In the Days of the Butterflies, and that movie or the books are written in recognition of those people. We will be staying, like Lauren says, there is a tremendous security. We won't go any place that's not been vetted. You will stay at a real nice place. Your food is included. Excursions that we have, everything is done properly. I will always be with you guys. If there are any questions, even while we're doing anything, we'll be there to answer them. And we'll go to the local market for you to get some of the souvenirs that you may want to take back home. Coffee in Dominican Republic is always a big thing that people like, but there are also several other things that you can see, that you will find and discover, and you truly will love spending time here. Local food is amazing. The three things that the bandera, which is the flag of Dominican Republic, is rice, beans, some kind of meat. It could be chicken, beef, pork, any kind of meat with salad. And then a variety of other different things are there from plantains and yuca and just all sorts of things. I fell in love when I came to Dominican Republic in 1986 with the food and the people. Lovely people, really want to be your friends, just hanging out and just making all the best that you hope to see, and they'll be there available to you. So I'm excited for those that will be signing up to come, and looking forward to meeting with you and having some time during the three meetings just to get to know each other and answer some of the questions that you might have. Thank you so much.
Thank you, JP. I had a question by email the other day, so I might as well just ask you while you're on the call. I had someone asking about the excursion in the caves, and they wanted to know if it was like a boat tour through the caves, or if like you're swimming through the caves, or you walking through the caves. What exactly does that look like?
You're walking through the caves, and there are three lakes. And so there is the bigger lake. There is like a canoe made out of bunch of um, a bunch of trunks of trees that will take you by the number about 15 people. And so you go across to go to that canoe. I mean, on that canoe to go to the next big lake. However, some of the biggest interesting things are that. Oh gosh, my brain just went blank. Couple of movies were filmed in some scenes from different movies were filmed in that cave. You don't swim, you walk down, and then you catch a literally 2 minutes a crossing of one of the lake to go to the other to actually see beautiful corals and beautiful stalmite and stalagmite, which they say for one of them to come down is several hundred years. And so you'll see many of those that have grown, and just really an enjoyable time.
Awesome. So also I had another person ask the other day, just in case anyone's curious, the hotel that we're staying at, it is on the coast, so you will get to have some beach time while we're there as well. So that's exciting.
Yes. We build in time so that the team has at least time to enjoy the sand and enjoy just being at the beach, and not being able to go back to America, not having enjoyed the beach. You're surrounded by water, so the best thing is to also enjoy it.
Yeah. Yep. I'm from South Florida, so I feel like the beach has lost its awe on me, but that's as a native South Floridian. So just another tidbit for anybody who's interested. The team leader on this is Christina O'Connor. So when I was talking to her about leading trips, she said, "You can put me on any trip, just make sure I'm on DR as well." Uh, it is her favorite trip to go on, and specifically, it's because she loves leading with JP. And so just wanted to talk you up there a little, JP, of how amazing it is to serve with you and the incredible positive feedback I've got from it.
No, thank you. Well, we do it from the heart, and we want to make sure people have a wonderful cross-cultural experience.
Mm. Thank you, JP. Okay. All right, the next trip we're going to talk about is Alaska. So this year we only have one domestic trip. I'm hoping to have more than one next year. And so this trip to Alaska is priced at $2,300 plus airfare. It's going to be August 22nd to the 30th. And the reason it's in those time frames, I know it's a lot of back to school for people. I don't know if you have kids or if you're a student yourself, but it's because we want to be able to make sure we can serve the students on a college campus that will be near. And so we'll also be serving some local indigenous populations, some elderly populations on this trip. We did this last year and we got some positive feedback, which is why we brought it back again this year. And he's not on this call tonight, but the person leading this is Kyle Alexander. He's actually one of our SFI regional managers. And I think he's like one of the nicest people I've ever met in my life. Darcy, I don't know, not to put you on the spot, but if you have anything to say about serving with him, that would be great.
He truly has a servant's heart, and his love of what we do and being able to connect and really just uplift communities is so beautiful and so real. You just feel it exuding from him. So yes, Kyle is lovely, and everyone will come back with the Kyle story, I am sure.
Yeah, I figured you could say something just because I haven't been had the privilege of being able to serve with him just yet, besides just helping to plan this trip together. But just every time I talk to him, he just makes me happy. I don't know how to explain it. And so he's actually the one who kind of took the initiative to help start planning this trip because he has his own ministry contact there, Pastor Shane with Lighthouse Church. And so them in tandem together have been working to plan this. And it's just been a really great experience. And so I'm hoping, like I said, to offer more domestic experiences. But as of 2025, this is the only trip. But like I said, it was really popular last year. And so you'll get to do a moose encounter, go on some hikes if you choose to. Some people, physically can't do the hike part and it's optional. You don't have to do that if you don't want to, and get to see some glaciers. So it's an exciting part of the United States, but also it's a part that has a lot of need. So we get excited to be able to serve a diverse population of many different ages there, college students, kids, and elderly. So I highly recommend looking into that if you're interested in a domestic opportunity where you don't require a passport. Another great opportunity is Ghana. This is also a common trip that we have done multiple years. And so this one is priced at $2,600 plus airfare. And this one is September 19th to the 28th. Once again, this one was placed at this part of the year to make sure that children were in school because we serve a lot of schools when we're in Ghana. And I think it's similar in other places around the world. I think JP said something similar, and I know it's similar in Uganda that a lot of students can't go to school unless they have shoes. And a lot of times it's very specific to like black closed-toe shoes. And so Ghana is one of those areas. And so they like us to be able to do it when school is in session so we can go and serve the students there. And what you'll see is that a lot of students, they will be embarrassed if they don't have shoes and they don't want to come to school. So then they just stop coming. And what we want are the students to be able to come and get educated. And that's something that's important for their development and for their future, for the ability to provide for their family. So with Ghana, that's a very popular trip. You can be at least 15, you have to be at least 15 years old to go on this trip. And part of the reason why the age limit is a little higher on this trip is because it's more physically taxing. You're going to do a lot of walking. You might have to drive somewhere and then maybe walk a mile to get to where you need to go, because you can't maybe use a car to get there. And so that's something to keep in mind that as you're planning this is that if you have physical limitations that kind of make this too hard for you to do something like that, that this might not be the best trip for you. If you like being outside and doing more physical activity, this would be a really great trip for you. I'm going to be leading this trip. And so the excursions for this one will be able to do a Cape Coast Castle tour, do the Essene Manso Slave River tour, and also we'll get to see our World Shoe Factory. You may not be familiar with what World Shoe is, but it is something that was also helped to be founded by Manny. And it's a factory in Ghana that actually produces shoes that have an antimicrobial property to it. And we get to use those shoes to help move forward our cause of ending shoelessness around the world. And so we get to actually go and see that factory. And I believe, Darcy, correct me if I'm wrong, but you could actually purchase shoes at the factory too if you wanted to.
Honestly, I that's a question I'm not sure of, Laura, and I'm not sure if they actually have a store there, but the World Shoe actually will be available to purchase in the United States soon online at worldshoe.org, I believe, is the website. But it's really interesting that beyond just distributing shoes, that Manny saw, had the foresight and was able to find partners a lot of them being in the health sector, who found that investing in a shoe that had prophylactic quality and it's also biodegradable, so it's better for the environment, would help with footborne disease. So I love that not only are they proudly made in Ghana, but it's also allowing Ghanaian people to earn generational wealth, right? To have these jobs available to them.
Yeah, and if you some of the places, if you do go on a trip with us, you might see these shoes even if you're not in Ghana. Like if you end up going on the Honduras trip or the Belize trip, you will see those shoes there because we've been able to ship some of those shoes out to other countries as well. So that's something to just keep in mind. It's like an extra experience that is exclusive to Ghana. Okay, Cuba. So Cuba has a special place in my heart, and part of that is because it was my first trip with Samaritan's Feet. I went this past October. This trip is going to happen in October as well, around the same time frame, October 10th to the 17th, 7 days, and it's going to be 2450 plus airfare. You have to be at least 9 years old to go on this trip. And so this trip specifically, I have traveled a lot internationally, specifically to more underdeveloped areas. I will say I was very surprised at the state of Cuba. I'm used to seeing poverty and, bad construction or whatever you might see in an underdeveloped area. But I guess what I was it was interesting here because our ministry partner had warned us that like the political climate there hadn't been so great and the people had kind of felt down before we got there. And he said, and he had lived there and his wife, and he married his wife from there as well. But returning there like 10 years later, it was shocking to him to kind of see how the demeanor of the people there had kind of seemed to lower and be maybe a little bit more negative. And so I didn't really know what to do with that. But once getting on the ground, it was interesting because I find that when I travel, I find so much more joy in the countries I go to, despite what they have or don't have. In Cuba, it seemed different, and it had nothing to do with what they had or didn't have, but it feels like they've just kind of they kind of feel beaten down, the community there. And obviously I can't speak for everybody. I can just, speak for what I saw while I was there. But it was a very interesting experience while I was there. They had a really hard time. For example, um, one of the people who went there, their luggage got lost and we couldn't just go buy a shirt. There wasn't a store around where you could just shop for clothes. You couldn't buy toothpaste there. So it was small things like that aren't really small. Like, can you imagine if you couldn't get toothpaste or soap? I've never had an issue getting hygiene products in another country before ever. And so that's something with this country. It makes me more excited to serve there because of the need there. It also makes it a lot harder to get shoes in there. I think it also makes it much more worthwhile and the need so much greater. And so everybody was just so generous and so sweet while we were there. So I highly recommend. Cuba was never on my list of places that I was interested in traveling to, and I'm so grateful for the experience that I was able to go. So I highly recommend this trip if you're interested in going to maybe one of the island areas or something that's a little closer to home that doesn't take as much travel. The airfare, because it's closer to, will be cheaper than if you went somewhere to Asia or Africa as well. So our ministry partner is Doug Clark with Cross Cultural Connections. He also does our India trips as well. And so he's a really great partner. He's really fun on the ground and amazing to serve with. And Deb Rotella has served with him multiple times. They enjoy doing trips together. And so, which is why she is going to be leading this one in October. In Cuba, there's one of the main things that you can do is that it kind of feels like you're jumping back in time when you go to Cuba because there's a lot of old cars on the road and there's a bunch of history as to why that is, but there's a lot of restored old 1950s cars there. And so as you're driving, you're going to be or going throughout the city. It's not going to be new cars that you're going to see. You're going to see restored 1950s cars. That's what everybody's driving. And so you'll get to see them on the road, but also you can go and do a tour of them and kind of learn more about the history as well. You can also do zip lining while you're there, and if time allows, depending on the group and how big it is, we can also fit in a possible beach visit as well. Okay, this is our last one for 2025 before we get into our first three 2026 trips. So this is to Costa Rica. This is a newer one as far we have not done Costa Rica for a mission trip in quite a few years, from my understanding. It's priced at $22.50 plus airfare. And this one is actually occurring over Thanksgiving break. So I wanted to be able to offer people, or us at Samaritan's Feet wanted to be able to offer people the opportunity to go somewhere during a holiday and kind of maybe make your holiday more meaningful. And so you have to be at least 10 years old to go on this trip. And the excursion here is you'll be able to do like a volcano and hot spring excursion here. And it's that week of Thanksgiving. And also that allows for more students if you go to school, or if you have maybe a younger child or family member that wants to go with you. This is a great trip for them to go on with you. And so with this one also offers kind of like multiple ministry opportunities, because yes, we'll be doing shoe distributions in Costa Rica, but let's say, for example, we go and we do a shoe distribution at a school, we have the opportunity to volunteer at that school afterwards and spend more quality time and connection with the people there. Same as if we go and we do at a clinic, do maybe a shoe distribution for the community around a clinic, then we can help that clinic afterwards, maybe administer vaccines or something like that. So this trip here, you'll get kind of a dual experience where you'll be able to not just do shoe distributions, but other ministry opportunities as well. That once again, it's just more tools to help people kind of feel that love of Christ from you. So this is a really great trip. And once again, it's not too far. The airfare for anywhere in like the island or Central America area, you're going to see that the airfare is a lot cheaper than if you went to other parts of the world. So moving into 2026, I apologize if we're running a little late, you guys. Our first trip for 2026 is Hong Kong. I'm very excited about this trip. This is priced at $26.50 plus airfare. It's going to be January 16th to January 24th. We wanted to give people plenty of time to plan this out, especially with it being right after the holidays. If you need to fundraise or save for this, you can be as young as 10 years old to go on this trip. And we'll be working with our ministry coordinator, Justin, on the ground. And so, yeah, so this one is really great, and I'm really excited about this one. Please ignore the excursion there. That was a mistake. The excursion is still to be determined on this one. Let me go back. So I apologize. That was my fault for that typo. But this is actually going to be a sports leaning ministry. So they're going to do half of their distributions are going to be in the community and half are going to be with sports ministry, specifically basketball, which is kind of interesting because we're bringing it back to those roots where Manny, his love for basketball, where he got those first pair of shoes gifted to him when he was 9 years old. It's kind of interesting to be able to volunteer on a trip that kind of has grassroots in that as well. And so the ministry partner is very heavily involved in sports ministry. And so he requested that we kind of make this trip have some of those elements. And so I feel like this would make it really great for any students that are interested in sports specifically. They can go and use that interest that they have and bring it with them on this trip. But even if you're not interested in sports, you don't have to love basketball. Just as an example, I don't know anything about sports. My dad never watched sports. My mom never did. My husband doesn't. So, but this trip is still very interesting regardless because of what you'll be able to experience on the ground and while working with our ministry partner. And it's just an interesting part of the world near Hong Kong. So. All right, Philippines. So this picture is a little awkward. This is actually me from 11 years ago on my first trip to the Philippines. And it was once again, a very pivotal trip for me. I was there for 2 months on the ground. And so, but it was such an amazing experience. And I'm so grateful that I was able to do that. And so I thought it would be kind of interesting if I was able to show you guys a picture of me from that. It's not a great picture. But this trip is priced at $27.50. But for those here who are attending, because you guys attended this, we're going to give you guys an early bird pricing if you're interested in this. If you sign up before the end of March, instead of $27.50, we'll give it to you guys for $2,700. And so that's something that's exclusive to those people attending here, plus airfare. So that is going to be February 19th to March 1st, and that includes travel time. So you don't have to think that you have to leave on February 17th to get there on the 19th. We're all going to leave on the 19th to make sure that we're there at the same time. And we're all going to travel back, I believe, on the 28th to make sure we're back on the 1st. So you have to be at least 10 years old to go on this trip. And this is going to be split between two different areas in the Philippines. One is more towards the capital, Manila, and then the other half will be in a more remote part. I cannot pronounce it. I think it's called Sargay Island. Once again, it's more remote, so you'll have two different experiences in the same country. And so that's why you'll see two different ministry partners here, Daryl Cheeks and Jal Matilio with Nehemiah Teams and the International Missions Board. So I'll be leading this, and we'll be able to do two excursions on this one. This one we'll be able to do a cave tour with stingless jellyfish where you'll get to swim. And another part we'll get to do snorkeling. And so I'm personally really excited about it just because of my history with the country. So last and certainly not least, which is why we have our wonderful ministry partner Maria on the call, is Honduras. And so this is planned for March 20th to the 28th of 2026, and it is priced at $21.50 plus airfare. You have to be at least 12 years old to go on this trip. And so I'm going to pass this over to Maria and just have her explain more about her ministry and being on the ground.
Hi. Well, my name is Maria Melgarejo. I am originally from Puerto Rico. My husband's actually from the Dominican Republic. And God brought me to Honduras back in 2016. And we've had the pleasure of founding GLOW, which is Go Love Our World. Our heart is to share the gospel, and everything that we do surrounds that. So thanks to partnerships like Samaritan's Feet, we're able to use the shoes as a tool to be able to share the love of Christ and the gospel around many places in Honduras. We've had the privilege also to purchase a property in Honduras. So our teams actually stay on our GLOW property, which is located in El Eden, Honduras. It's a really small village, a very safe place. We are about 2 hours approximately from San Pedro Sula. So it is a little bit of a commute getting into our property. But then once we're there, we focus on local communities. Our main thing is partnering with the local pastors in the community. So everything that we do is through our pastors that we have. And so that way it's not the American coming in, but yet that there is a follow-up also by their local pastors and local community. It's also been great because on our property, we actually have a soup kitchen program, an education program, and we're able to have 4 children also at a House of Blessing. So our property right now, although it's not huge, it actually does a lot for the community. So our goal is always making the impact and sharing Christ and being able to work with the community side by side. We really are very respectful of the culture there and making sure that everything that we do is basically good with them. The kids in Honduras, the majority don't go past 6th grade because they are forced to work. In most families, kids, you might have only one of 2 or 3 that are in the family that are able to go to school. Unfortunately, although they say that education is free, it truly isn't because they have to have uniforms and backpacks and school supplies. And so shoes, like what Samaritan's Feet blesses us with, we're able to give these shoes. And what's awesome is we're actually on our 3rd container receiving from Samaritan's Feet. It's almost there, so I've been paying attention, super excited. These shoes, I literally can go to some of the villages and still see our shoes that we've distributed in the past. And so that's always so cool to be like, okay, look at those feet. I saw those feet before. And so being able to give them something like shoes, it is life-changing, like it was for Manny. I mean, it literally for these children and even adults that we've been that we've served. They're so grateful and they're so humbled by the fact that us as Americans would come into their country and serve them and wash their feet. So we love to be able to go into all types of different communities. Some are mountain communities, some are local schools. What a week with us would look like is we're basically every day we try to have two distributions sites and that we'd go to all within pretty much 45 minutes away at the most from each other. And unless we're doing a mountain community and those trips are a little bit longer, but even with those trips, we try to do two distributions. And we also go ahead and do that with the health and hygiene, sometimes VBSs, just depending on the group, because we always love bringing the God gifts that people have from all the teams to be able to serve. That's always like an added blessing. And so we'll go do the distributions. Our excursion is Pulapansac. And so it is a beautiful waterfall, which is about 35 minutes from where we are. You'll have an opportunity to zip line there, or if you want, they have a behind the scene tour of the actual waterfall. It's for those who are really adventurous. You get to jump in. We've mostly all our teams do it, but if you choose not to do something like that, there's also like a small area that you can on the top part of the waterfall where you can sit and just bathe in that area. Plus it has a beautiful walking trail that you're able to do while you're there. And what's great about that excursion is that we are not far from our property. So the trip is lots of fun. It's for all ages. I mean, we've literally had 80-year-olds do the zip line. So although I do not personally do that, but if you're adventurous, the Pulapansac is definitely a place to be. And so yeah, we're here going on 8 years now and just loving to be able to serve the community. We're in a really safe place. We have our transportation company we've used for the 8 years that we've had. So we really feel surrounded by a great group of people. Everybody we tell, like, for us is we're a family at Glow. And so from our bus driver to our cook to, it just everybody that comes and has been a part of the ministry, our hope is that when you leave Honduras, that you have found another family that you're able to serve and that you're able to come to. But I think the biggest thing for me is a lot of people are always fearful of coming on mission trips of like, what am I going to do? And all this expectation. And I encourage, and this is not just for Glow, but I just really encourage people to know that God's going to use you wherever you go. And you shouldn't have like the expectation part is if you can just let go of that and allow God to be in control, I guarantee you wherever you're at, he's going to use you. And he's going to use you more than what you even thought. And when you leave, you're going to be impacted more than you even thought. Because sometimes we're the ones that hold us up. So I really encourage anyone, just if you're looking for a trip, whether it's Honduras or anywhere, just do it. You won't regret it. And it will be an experience that hopefully you'll be able to do time and time again.
Thanks so much, Maria. I really appreciate it. All right, you guys, we are coming towards the end here. I just wanted to mention one more thing before we go. And Darcy, I'm going to have you speak on this. Just speaking on if you're interested in planning a private trip with us versus signing up for one of our public ones you see on our website. So I'm going to give the floor to you, Darcy.
Sure. Thanks, Lauren. And thank you, JP and Maria, for sharing your stories and your beautiful countries and ministries with us this evening. One of the things that, we've been sharing are what we call our public trips because they're open to the public. That said, anyone in the public can sign up or register for one of our trips. One of the other things that we probably should have mentioned under our safety measures, though, is that everyone who registers, we do a background check on. We want to make sure that the people that we are bringing into these destinations and on mission are obviously there for the right reasons. We certainly don't want any bad actors. So we do background check on anyone who registers with us. So those are for our public trips, but we also do and work with private trips. So for example, Clemson University, they every year they want to host their own Clemson students on a trip. So they'll decide the destination and come to us. They know that they want to work with us and they want to distribute shoes. And so Lauren will build out that trip based on where they want to go. This works also with church groups, right? So, for example, you may attend a church and you know that you've got 5, 6 other people in your congregation who want to go on a trip, but not necessarily to one of the ones that we've already got planned or that's on our calendar for the year. Maybe the dates don't work. So we can certainly work and build and curate a private trip with just your group in mind. So just making sure that everyone knows that that is an opportunity as well. The pricing, doesn't cost any more or any less. It's based on what your needs are, what your desires are. So, for example, Clemson's are a little bit higher price because they like to add a lot more sightseeing options and excursions in their day-to-day itinerary along with their shoe distribution. So, basically, we just pass along the cost, and but Lauren's here for you if you are interested in building a private trip.
Thanks, Darcy. I can't believe I forgot to mention the background checks. That is an important safety measure as well. We do that as for everything. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to just leave an open floor for anybody to type in the Q&A section. Once again, it's at the bottom of your screen. There should be a little icon that says Q&A. Go ahead and type it. If you have any questions, we have JP and Maria here, which is a wonderful opportunity to ask them specific questions about DR or Honduras. Or if you have questions for me or Darcy about just missions in general or any of the other countries, please feel free. I'm going to go ahead and mute myself and just give you guys free reign to go ahead and type any questions for the next couple minutes if you have any. Otherwise, that is the end of our webinar and our town hall. And so I'll be going ahead and emailing this out to you guys. So I will keep this section down here with the Q&As in the recorded section, just in case there's any interesting questions. So thank you guys all for coming. And it was it's so amazing to hope that we can maybe serve with you guys in the future.